All right, Emma, thank you. Well, unfazed before the election, the national media is now suddenly forced to confront the Hunter Biden corruption story in a big way after Hunter Biden himself acknowledged a federal probe into his taxes, which started back in 2018. Yet when the New York Post broke this story, the left-wing media claimed it was nothing to look at, just Russian disinformation and partisan lies. And joining us now to talk about all this, Wendy Patrick, host of The Answer on KCBQ Radio, as well as a legal commentator and Republican strategist, John Thomas. Wendy, I want to start with you, but first, President Trump and his team were mocked. I mean, they were ridiculed when they brought up the Hunter Biden story. Here's a 60 Minutes interview clip when Trump was interviewed by Leslie Stahl. Take a listen.
I wish you would interview Joe Biden like you interview me. It would be so good. You know what?
You like this, I thought. I thought you liked
I don't mind it. But when I watch him walk out of a store and he's walking with ice cream, and the question the media asks him, what kind of ice cream, what flavor ice cream do you have? And he's in the midst of a scandal.
He's not.
And he's taking,
He's
of course
not.
he is,
No.
Leslie.
Come on.
Of course he is. It's the biggest, second biggest scandal.
So,
the biggest scandal was when they spied on my campaign. They spied on my campaign,
there's no
Leslie.
real evidence of that.
Of course there is. It's all over the place. Leslie,
Sir,
they spied on my campaign and they got caught.
Can I say something? You know, this is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
Well, 60 Minutes reputation just took an incredible hit right there. Leslie Stahl, one of the matriarchs of journalism. She's been at it a long time. She looks pretty foolish right now, Wendy. What do you think?
You know, I'll tell you what, that's an interview that a lot of people haven't seen. And that's the kind of interview that more people should see, because it really does draw the distinction that the president is making between the way the media handles him and Joe Biden. Can you imagine how Joe Biden would fare in an interview like that? He wouldn't make it. He could probably tell you his favorite ice cream flavor, but he definitely would not be able to stand the heat of that kind of questioning, particularly given the lack of evidence. I'll tell you what we're learning now about Hunter Biden, perhaps he should get in line with Joe Exotic and others asking the president for a pardon, because what we're learning now is how differently the media treats the president and our president-elect, at least according to the news outlets that have called it, even though we haven't had the Electoral College yet. So, right, it's very unfair. What's even more unfortunate is that more people haven't seen the difference in the way the media outlets treat our two candidates. Newsmax does a great job of showcasing that difference. Other outlets don't.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy. We're just trying to be accurate and be fair. John, this is now something that I think the Democrats feel like they've got this election locked up. On the 20th, Joe Biden will ascend to the presidency. Who knows how long he'll be there? He's 78 years old now. But this is something that these charges are really serious for Hunter Biden. He could end up in jail.
Yeah, he could end up in jail, and then it opens up a broad array of questions, which is, well, if he goes to jail, if it's over tax reasons, that's one thing. But what about selling influence of the family name to China? What role did Joe Biden have or know in that process? I mean, this could be a massive scandal. We don't know. We've got to get to the bottom of it. But let's step back for 1 second and just look at the media coverage. It comes down simply to this. It's all about power. It's all about winning elections for Democrats. The mainstream media is completely in the tank with the Democrats, and they are not going to air stories, or they're going to downplay stories around election time that could hurt a Democrat. That's what we just witnessed here.
Yeah, and I think it's just fascinating to see that President Trump was right all along, and the fact that this wasn't looked at before the election, and that the American people didn't have the information, the requisite information needed to make an intelligent vote for president, might have been enough to definitively swing this election in President Trump's favor, and we wouldn't be dealing with any of the stuff that we're dealing right now. We've seen headlines, this headline coming from Politico over the last couple of weeks. This is how the media has covered some of this stuff. The New York Times as well has had headlines talking about, there's nothing to see here. This is just a misinformation campaign coming from Russia. Here's a flashback, and this, you've got to laugh at it now, but this is a flashback before the second presidential debate when NBC News tried to prepare viewers that President Trump might actually bring up some of the laptop stuff, Hunter Biden laptop stuff. Take a listen.
You can hear a pin drop in the room before these two candidates walk out on stage to begin their final face-off. Watch for President Trump to go after former Vice President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and unverified emails about his business dealings, a story that many intelligence experts say has all the hallmarks of a foreign interference.
It's laughable to see Hallie Jackson say that right now. It's laughable to see it. Wendy, I want to get your reaction.
You know, the media double standard has required the president to work double duty for the last 4 years. First, he has to get all the information out about all the good things he's doing. Then he has to combat the disinformation that seeks to derail his legitimate stories. And I'll tell you, one thing that we've seen that I didn't grow up with, and I know the three of us probably remember knowing where to go for news when we grew up, social media has really eclipsed that, and now we're seeing social media censorship to where even the stories that would matter to informed voters. I know some people will get on TV and say, oh, it wouldn't matter to the Democrats. Informed, smart voters want to know the information from both sides. So it would have mattered. That is the tragedy about right now we're finding out this information. So it is terrible that we've had to deal with this for 4 years. And I only hope that there are more stations like this where we can get this information out to the voters while they have a chance to act on it, not afterwards.
Yeah, and it's going to be fascinating to watch the Justice Department try and take down the Biden crime family over the next few months. John Thomas, Wendy Patrick, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Hanukkah started last night, but many of those celebrating were unable to gather because of restrictions in cities like New York. Coming up, we'll speak with one rabbi about how his community is adapting during this difficult time.